go ahead and introduce our players. The unlikely Protoss making it to this winner's round from Team No One. It is Brown.
Brown. And spawning up to our top right-hand corner here as our purple Zerg. After defeating MKP pretty formidably, she goes by the name of AcerScarlett.
I mean, I want to go ahead and take a journey down to Brown's natural expansion, where you see it's a relatively easy hold. It's a little annoying with these rocks, but no more annoying than Ohana would be. But journey with me leftward towards the expansion that's on that left side. You can see already it's incredibly far away from the natural expansion, and it has this huge wide open ramp. So that's generally the easiest-ish to take. And then you head down to this bottom expansion. I mean, that's way the hell far away. And the connecting neck between those two bases has like 7 attack angles. So Protosses really do need to go for this left base. It's the only real way to do it. Wall in your front, take down the rocks, and then shoot on up to take that. But still, it's a nightmare to secure third base on this map. You cannot secure it with your 4-gate sentry immortal defense as you could on a map like Daybreak.
Yeah, it's so hard to. And off the back of that, a lot of Protosses have just been saying, well, it's time for a 2-base all-in, guys, with Immortals. And that could come to fruition here. Brown could employ that. We've seen a lot of people go for that in the Korean scene thus far. It's become quite infamous, in fact. So we'll see if he wants to go for that kind of play.
Yeah, I mean, in truth, the fact is, as you might know, Immortal Sentry All-In is done by everyone.
Yes.
Protoss win rate has crept up to 1,000%.
How can it possibly get there? But it's true. It has. That's how they do it. It won BWC.
Every time they play a 1v1, they earn 10 wins. 1,000% is the win rate right now.
Trying to recuperate the losses that some Zergs gave them earlier on when they didn't figure that out. But actually, now that we say that, you know, that Immortal All-In's been around for a bloody long time.
It's super incredible. Yeah, it's a very solid build. Zergs are even starting to readjust the way that they open a little bit, just try to have an answer to it.
Yeah. There's been some schools of thought with a lot of spine crawlers and trying to rush up to infestors, and actually it's worked out once or twice. Saw Suppy defeat Parting's Immortal All-In from it. But, you know, still we had amazing micro from Parting, who was trying to make it work still, but it worked out. So spine crawler infestors could be a very, very strong way of dealing with it.
Yeah, and I mean, the truth is that Zergs have become so comfortable holding off everything that gets thrown at them that you don't really need to do this very by-the-book, double gas at 6-minute play. You can even do things like what we see Dongray Gu has done before, get a 4th, or excuse me, not Dongray Gu, Losira, get a 4th hatchery before doing any sort of layer tech. And it's a pretty interesting way to defend these sorts of attacks, just with overwhelming numbers of Zerglings. Getting the very fast +1 Carapace upgrade is another big key that players have been exploring as an answer to that. And I mean, we've been talking about this Immortal All-In a lot. There's still a possibility that Brown will not do it, but I would still be surprised to see him do something otherwise, given that this map's third base is so tough to take.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Brown had a probe up to the top left-hand corner, but was spotted by Zerglings eventually. One Zergling actually just ran straight past it, but the second Zergling came along to actually find it. Meanwhile, we do have... Well, he spotted the expansion, so he knows what he needs to, but it could have potentially been used later on for some kind of aggressive move, which, you know, unfortunately for Brown, is not going to be too easy as now. Those Zerglings, they're actually just going to run up and... Ooh, well, no, they decide to turn around. Okay. Bye-bye, Zerglings.
It's looking very Immortal Sentry All-In.
It is.
You should... the general structure for this build is start the Immortal before you begin +1 attack. We're going to find out soon enough. Double gas at 6 minutes from Scarlet. Very scripted to this point in time. Let's see what Brown does. Ooh, started that +1 quite early. What's going on? Oh, an Observer first. Well...
Okay.
Looks like it might not be the Immortal Sentry All-In, much to my chagrin.
Yeah.
And much to Scarlet's grin.
I would say so, because Scarlet now has the opportunity to, you know, in the mid to late game, just exploit these angles. Wait a minute. Okay, so oh, sorry, never mind. I thought he had cancelled the Observer then for an Immortal, but no, it's done, and the Immortal is on the way now, probably with those sentries just to secure a third base. But we've already talked about the treacherous architecture of this map that can quite easily topple you when going for this third base. So
yeah.
Brown has to be so careful about this. He has to create great SimCity. He has to be fully aware of his opponent's positioning in terms of the middle of the map. And all of these things work in tandem for him to try and claim that third.
And WoW is he not going for the Immortal Sentry all-in? I would... Or is he now deciding to do it? We're seeing Chrono Boosts on there. It's not unheard of to transition into that after the Observer, but really I think that the delay time, it is nice to get this whole push going the 20 seconds earlier by skipping the Observer.
Well, it looks as if he actually is going to now, but you're right. I mean, it's 9.9 times out of 10 when you see an Immortal all-in, it's the 3 Immortals, then into a Warp Prism, then into an Observer, or vice versa with the Warp Prism and Observer. It's not normally an Observer first, and Brown here, I mean, he's spotting things, but this Observer really hasn't utilized itself too well in terms of what it's going for, and the Immortals are slightly delayed. Is the Warp Prism as well, Sean?
And it's the all-in, done a little bit slowly, and of course sung to the theme of the Brady Bunch. We're seeing Scarlett has already established more than enough defense. I mean, if you're hitting 10 minutes and you just haven't seen anything, no attempt for a third, no attempt to move out, you see some Immortals at the front, you just flood units.
Yeah.
Sort of interesting answer we've been seeing many folk go for in this position is to really slow down this push timing. And already, I'm going to say right now, this Brown is going to get destroyed because he does not have a probe out making pylons in the middle of the map. The Warp Prism in the modern Immortal Sentry all-in is used to micro the Immortals around and to pull the sentries out. But now it needs to be used for warp-ins, so they cannot do that micro. Scarlett striking this right now, expending as much force field energy as possible, and this is going abysmally for Brown. Yeah. Look at the sentry energy. Look at how low all those sentries are. I mean, sure, in the units lost tab, Brown is decimating, but that's not what you want with the Immortal Sentry all-in.
Yeah, this is getting way out of control right now. Scarlett's doing a great job of delaying this from getting across the map. It's in the middle of the map right now, and the sentries have maybe 1 force field each right now, maybe 2 on that one at the very front, but warping a few Stalkers here, trying to go for the push once again. There's still a lot of Roaches flooding out, and once all the Stalker sentries have expended this energy, those Immortals are going to be super vulnerable.
Now, this is where it starts to get scary for Scarlett. Scarlett has done a good job wasting as much energy as humanly possible. The sentry count is starting to dwindle rapidly, but Scarlett just needs to make sure that that positioning is good and that those Immortals are some of the early focuses on those targetings. 4th macro hatch up. It's still a little bit of a tough defense, but as long as Scarlett continues to macro quite hard, it's going to be not a big issue. And especially considering that, again, this Warp Prism has to be used for warp-ins. It cannot be used exclusively for micro.
Yeah, and the majority of what we've actually seen Brown warp in has been sentries because he expended all that energy. He should be warping in Stalkers to add on that extra DPS here, which he just can't because he has to warp in those sentries for the extra space control. And now Scarlett's going to try and come in from both sides here. Few units being caught off at the back. This is actually a really good position here for Brown, but all the drones coming off as well. The Roaches have breached this location. There's no more force fields left. This is looking pretty bad here for our Protoss.
And now we're seeing the dilemma. You gotta micro those Immortals, but you can't warp in at the same time. A clean, straightforward defense from Scarlett after a delayed and heavily botched Immortal Sentry all-in. Good game, makes it look easy.